Welcome to the DAC podcast. My name is Lydia Miller, and in this podcast, I'm talking through the things that I'm learning in an MBA program and how I'm applying that information to my small business. Thanks for joining me. Now let's get started. Welcome back to the DAC podcast. This is Lydia Miller, and if you are new, then I want to welcome you to the DAC podcast. And if you have been sticking around for a while, I just want to take a minute to thank you for listening to this podcast, for supporting it, and for just using the information, hopefully, that I've been sharing in this. My goal with this podcast is a couple things. One, it's to share some of the things that I'm learning in an MBA program as I'm growing my own small business. Number two, it's to get me more comfortable speaking and practicing speaking and things like that. And number three, my goal is to share this information and help other people to grow their own small businesses. Whenever I started my business in 2016, I have a bachelor's degree in accounting, but I didn't have a lot of business knowledge, and I felt very intimidated to actually open up my own business and to start running it. And whenever I did, I realized that there's a lot of things that I did not know about business and marketing and just all the aspects of business in general and how to run it and how to run a successful business. It was not as easy as I thought it was. And so in 2017, I decided to go back for my MBA just to try to get some more knowledge and to start learning and to really just gain some tips and strategies from people that were experts in their field. And once I started learning, I realized just how much there is to learn and how much that there is to share. So that's part of the goal of this podcast, is to do a few of those things. And hopefully I'm doing that, and hopefully that you are using this information, that is helpful for you. If you have found this podcast to be helpful at all and want to thank me somehow, if you would, I would be honored if you would just share this podcast. If you would share it with somebody who's also a business owner or who needs some help in a certain area. If you see that they have a question, to point them to an episode, I would be honored. That is the absolute best way that you could help me with this podcast, is to just share it and to have other people listen as well, so that I can continue to do this and continue to help other people. That would be the just greatest honor that you could give me, and I'd really appreciate that. Well, if you are listening in real time right now, we are still in the middle of July. I think I've said that in the last 7 episodes, because I've released several back to back because I got a little bit behind. But after this episode and the next, I'll be back on track with my regular Friday morning release date. But I'm trying to get caught up to, I think episode 21 will come out this Friday. So we're still in the middle of July. I'm still working on the accounting, HR, and leadership class. They're still going well. I'm ahead of schedule right now, but I have hit a little bit of a slump. It's kind of hard. I hit it really hard in May and June, and I have finished watching all the lectures that I had to watch. It's a self-paced program this summer, and in the fall it'll be self-paced as well. But at this point, it's just work. And I have so many other work things going on right now, and other opportunities that I've been faced with, and I go on vacation next week. So I really have to get all of my work done this week and the beginning of next week to finish before vacation, which is my goal, because that's the last thing I want to do, is come home from vacation and still have schoolwork to do. So hopefully I will finish those this week. Hopefully by the time I release the next episode, I will say I have finished a few of these classes. Anyway, that's my goal for this, but we'll see if that happens or not. And another thing, if you're listening in real time, I am offering a weekly webinar series on Thursdays at 2 p.m. And they're going to be mainly centered around nonprofit bookkeeping, because that is the niche that I have chosen for my bookkeeping business. And the one this Thursday is on the chart of accounts and reports for nonprofits, and how to customize those and how to use them, and just kind of some of the quirky things about QuickBooks Online that I've learned over the years. And if you would be interested in that, I would love for you to sign up. There's going to be a link in the show notes, or if you know of somebody who works at a nonprofit or volunteers with them, or wants to start a nonprofit and they might find some of these webinars useful, I would really appreciate it if you could just share the information with them and just point them to my website, or really to my Facebook page, because that's where I'll be sharing a lot of the information there. And I will be doing these every Thursday from now until I ran out of things to do webinars on, which hopefully will be a very long time from now. And I've really enjoyed doing these so far. I did one last week and it was a lot of fun. I did it on the very basics of QuickBooks, and I had a few people that I knew on there and they gave me some great feedback afterwards. So I'm hoping to improve these and to even do some of these webinars several times just to help and share the information, and really just to help people who don't have time to just sit and Google things for hours on end, but to just come for 30 to 45 minutes and learn the information that they need and be able to take it with them and apply it right away. That's my goal with those. Okay, so let's get into the content now. So today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about your brand, and not just your brand, but the value that your product or service has and where it comes from and how you can deliver more benefits for whatever product or service that you have. So there was a quote in my notes that I really liked that I think my teacher said. It said, "A product's real value comes from its ability to deliver benefits that solve a customer's problem." And as I started to think about that, I started to think, well, of course, that's why I buy things. It's because of the benefit. It's not necessarily because of the product itself, even though sometimes it has something to do with it. But I wouldn't keep things around, even my house, as I'm decluttering and organizing things. I don't keep things around that don't offer a benefit to them as well. So even think about things, or like even just services that you buy, or digital things that you buy as well. So even those digital things that we buy, we're really buying the benefits from them. Whenever I purchased a camera, that's a really nice camera. I purchased the camera, but what I wanted was the benefits. I wanted to be able to take nicer photos. Whenever I purchase any type of planner, I'm not necessarily purchasing a planner because I could just do that. I'm purchasing the benefit of staying organized and having some place to keep everything. Even when you purchase, just anything, it's really in the back of your mind. It's not just the product itself, but it's the benefit behind it. And when something else comes out with a better benefit, you want to purchase the next product because you're after the benefits of whatever it is. So remember that whenever you are talking to people about your business, you don't just want to tell them, I have a bookkeeping business. You want to tell them, I have a business that helps, I help business owners with their bookkeeping and give them helpful information so they can grow their business and understand what's going on behind the scenes. That sounds a lot better because you have added the benefit for the customer. You've added the benefit for why you do what you do and why it's important and really the story behind what you're doing. And you really want to be able to articulate that whenever you're talking to your customers and whenever you're putting things on social media or any other place, just because this is how people start to connect with you. And this is how people connect with your brand and with what you're doing and want to share it and become loyal to you and to your brand and to your company. I have found that true for sure. And if you want to read a book about this, Donald Miller has a book out called The Story Brand. The Story Brand, I believe. I've read bits and pieces of it and it's really good. And it kind of talks about this idea. So that's kind of a deeper dive if you want to learn more about this. But right now I have a few points beyond this. So number one, customers buy the benefit. I went over that a second ago, but think about if you buy a gym membership or if you buy a certain brand of clothes or services or even food, anything that you buy, you're buying the benefit for. So whenever you are talking to your customers, make sure that they understand the benefits behind it. You don't even necessarily have to tell them all the technical side of this, because most of the time it's going to go straight over their heads, or they're not going to care, or they really don't want to know a lot about the technical side of things. Even I think I see this a lot when people do direct sales, is that they talk about how great the product is and how great it has this and that feature and all these things, and it's just all the little details about it. And most of the time I don't really care about that, but whenever I do see people who put on there the benefit of, if they're selling, I don't know, like essential oils. I don't know how you feel about those, but if they're selling essential oils, they'll say, I haven't been sick in the last year because I started using this and added it to my daily routine and I haven't been sick anymore. So that's selling the benefit. Or we used to be at the doctor's office all the time and we started using this and it's cut down on our visits. That is a benefit. Maybe if they're selling like any type of makeup line, they started using something and all of a sudden their skin is cleared up and this is how they look now, like selling the benefit, not just here's my product, it's really great, it has these ingredients in there. Well, we don't really necessarily care about that. What people care about is the benefits to it. So make sure that whenever you're talking about those things, you add in a personal benefit for why you're using your product or why you're selling your product or why people use your product, even testimonials and having things, even if there's been like a change in a business because of what you're selling, if you're selling business to business, if there's been a change in another business because of what you're doing or the service that you're offering, if you do social media posts, instead of just saying we post 4 times a week on social media and we'll get this type of content and the benefit for the consumer on the other side would be we engage with your audience. We let people know that you are here. We let people, we help people, make people aware. We bring goodwill towards your brand. Things like that is what people are looking for. So customers buy the benefits. Number 2, customers have to feel like they are getting a good service. Now, this is kind of tricky because sometimes you will offer a great service to somebody, and if they don't feel like they've got a good service, then they are not going to be as responsive to this. So there's an example that was given in class about an airline company. So if you get to your gate really late and you barely make it on the plane, there's 2 ways that the flight attendant can react to this. Number 1, they could say, well, hurry up and get to your seat because we're about to take off and you're late. Or they could say, I am so glad you made it. Make sure you get to your seat so that we don't miss our takeoff window. We're so glad you're here. Just kindness basically is what it comes down to. Customers have to feel like they're getting a good service. Either way, you're getting on the plane and you're getting to your destination. It's the same service, but the way that you phrase things and your kindness and just the way that you talk to people, that's going to be really important. Customers have to feel like they're getting a really great service from you. So there's all kinds of different ways that you can build in great service. Your wording, think about your website. If you sell a digital product, think about all the things that your customer sees as they're purchasing your product. It could be that your landing page has something pretty standard on when they're checking out. Maybe you want to add a little bit more of your brand to it. Maybe you want to add in some different wording to make them feel like they are getting the best service and that you care about them. Maybe whenever you're delivering something to your customers or when you're emailing them, you want to make sure that anything you put in your email is showing them that they are getting a great service and that they are being cared for. Anytime that you speak to your clients or to your customers, you want them to realize that you care about them and that they are valuable. And number 3, customers have to understand what you're doing. This can be tricky sometimes, especially for my business is a bookkeeping business. And a lot of times people don't always understand bookkeeping, and that's fine. People pretty much either get it or they don't as far as accounting goes. And I saw that when I was an undergrad and not so much as a graduate student now, but I have found that when people understand something for accounting, it just all kind of clicks. But my job, part of it, is to make sure that my clients understand what's going on in the financial statements and what's going on in their business. And the more that I do that and the better that I am at that, the more valuable that my business becomes to them, because they start to understand things and they start to realize that there can be decisions made and there are strategies there and that there are trends over time and that they can use this information in their own business. I want you to think about how you can help your clients understand what you do better. Now, you probably I would hope you understand your business completely, whatever you do. If you offer a service, maybe you offer something really niche, like any type of industry that most people don't know a lot about. You know, if you offer something like that, people probably don't understand what it is. So the more you can communicate to say, this is what we do, this is what our process looks like. Even if you think it's oversimplified, it'll probably click for them at that point and they could say, oh, that's what they're doing. And they can understand what you're doing so that it's good too, whenever they're talking to other people and their friends and their friend has this problem, you can say, hey, I feel like this company over here could help you, or this girl could help you because she does this in her own business. And that's how you start to get referrals. And that's how people start to be able to help you out in your own business, because they know what you're doing and they can understand it as well. So you want to make sure that the customers have the information, that they understand what you're talking about. And you want to make the benefits personal to the consumer. And this is important, that you know what your consumer values and what your customer values. So again, the 3 things that we talked about today are: customers buy the benefits, customers have to feel like they're getting a good service, and customers have to understand it. Now, I want you to think about the oil industry. And oil has been around for a long time. It's a natural resource. It's not like it was just created in a factory or anything like that. But it really wasn't valuable until gasoline was needed. And that's only been in the last couple hundred years. And before that, there was just this abundance of this natural resource that there was not a need for. But as soon as somebody was able to create something, like gasoline in cars that needed this, and began to explain the benefit of it and the value of this, and people started seeing it, then it became more and more valuable. I want you to think of that as your brand. If you're finding that people aren't realizing how important what you're doing is, or how important you think it is, then it might be that they just don't see the benefit of it, that they don't see the need for it. And even something like oil, that there's abundance of, it could be that you are the person that makes that thing valuable, or you are able to make that valuable to some people in your life, or to a group of people to help support your business. I want you to think of that as, don't think that just because people don't understand it now, that it's not an important thing. It still is. You just have to realize that it's part of your job to communicate that, and to give great information, and to do content marketing, and to make sure that people understand what you're doing, and that they see the benefit of it as well. So again, a product's real value comes from its ability to deliver benefits that solve a customer's problem. Think about how you can solve a customer's problem with your product, or if you know how to do that, how you can communicate that better so that they will want to purchase what you're offering. And don't be afraid to change what you're offering, as long as you're still solving the same problem that people are having. I think about Dave Ramsey's business, how he started selling his financial peace class in person, and his message has stayed the same through the entire years of get out of debt, save, live on less than you make a budget, all those things. But the way that he's done it is different. He started out doing an in-person class, and then he started with the video recording, and then he started with the CDs, and the methods that he's doing has changed it, but he's still in the business of getting people out of debt, and they're still communicating the value of that, and they're still convincing people that this is the better way to live, and this is how it should be, and this is the financial freedom that you can have. So don't be afraid if you find that the methods that you're using are changing, even if your message is not, because that's probably just a good sign that your business is growing with technology, and that you are staying in the market instead of just staying how you've always done it and always been, because eventually that's probably not going to work out for your business. So again, your product or service's real value comes from its ability to deliver benefits that solve a customer's problem. So for your homework, I want to make sure that you are putting content out there that solves a customer's problem. And I want you to know the problem that you're solving. If you don't even know the problem that you're solving, or if you're just offering a service because that's what you like to do, then you're not offering something big enough, or something that is not important enough, but something that is going to be sustainable in the long term. So I want to make sure, so if you don't already, please make sure that you are solving a customer's problem, and that you know what that problem is, and that you know how to articulate that, and write it down. Make sure it's in writing, even put it on a big sticky note in front of you so that you remember it every single day. Put it on social media, put it on your website. Make sure that people know that the problem that they're having, you have the solution to it, and your business is just the in-between to get there. So I want to thank you again for listening to this episode today and for supporting this podcast. If you haven't hit subscribe, make sure that you do. This is only season 1 of this podcast, and I plan on doing several more to coincide with the classes I'm taking for my MBA. And the season that I'm going to start in the fall is going to be the technology series. I'm so excited about that. I'll start it in either September or October, sometime in there. And again, thank you so much for listening. I know that you are going to do a great job in your business. And once you decide what's the problem that you're solving, I want to know about it. So make sure that you either can send me an email, lydia@dacbalance.com, or you can look at my social media and leave a comment on one of my posts. I would love to hear from you. Thanks again.